You want to live? You can only sell the weapons to me.
His voice drops low. A total death warrant. You just smirk. You tell him straight in this game, there are no sides, no manifestos, no flags, only the bottom line. His face twists in a rage finger, twitching on the trigger. He's screaming in your face now. You think this is some playground BS. You think I'll blink before painting the walls with your brains. You tell him to read the room. Pull that trigger. Cool, this shipment is a freebie. Congrats, you hit the jackpot. But tomorrow, word spreads. You're blacklisted. No runner will touch this camp within a 1,000-mile radius. And an army without lead is just a bunch of dead men walking. But keep your MVP supplier alive. You get the high-end hardware. The kind that makes your ops look like cavemen with sticks. Dead silence. Feels like forever. Then he lowers the piece and loses it, laughing his head off. Says he hopes you liked the theatrics. You play along, tipping your hat to that classic Middle Eastern charm, while his goons haul in the bags of dirty laundry. Handshake. Deal closed. You tell him, always a pleasure doing business with a man of reason. Honestly, you've seen this scenario so many times it bores you to tears. It brings back memories of your rookie year in the shipping biz. Back then, you were a straight arrow. Legal cargo only. Your mission was simple: get stuff from point A to point B. The only catch, point B, was usually a literal hellscape. You were hauling food to Sudan meds to Yemen and construction materials to Iraq. You grinded like that for 2 years until that one fateful day flipped your life upside down. You're chilling at an ultra-exclusive resort for the super rich in the Maldives. While you're soaking up the sun, a guy walks up to you. He says he overheard you flexing about your logistics gig while you were trying to impress some girls at the bar, and he has an urgent logistical need. He needs to ship construction tools to Palestine. And when he said tools, you both knew he didn't mean hammers and screwdrivers. He meant the kind of hardware capable of explosively redecorating the local architecture. He offers to pay cash up front. The number was monstrous. You're looking at 5 years of your current salary in one go. You knew damn well that taking this gig meant breaking a dozen international laws and crossing a line with no U-turn. But then you looked at the cash, thought about your talent for logistics, and did the math. 5 years of financial freedom versus a little professional risk. Worth a shot. You smiled and shook on it. That day marked day one of your journey to becoming the king of arms smuggling. Mission accepted. But to keep things legit, you need the holy grail of weaponized red tape, the End User Certificate, or EUC. In plain English, it's a pinky swear on paper, vowing these missile launchers are headed to a peaceful destination, and definitely not an active war zone. To score this magic scroll, you just grease the palms of a corrupt general's shell company. A little donation to his grandkids' Ivy League fund, or maybe his new yacht, and boom. You're holding a pristine EUC certifying your haul is legally bound for the Egyptian military. But hey, the world is a glitchy place. Mid-transit, your GPS has a very convenient meltdown. Your truck and container just happen to get lost in some dusty backwater town right on the Palestinian border. What a bummer. And to top it off, you're out of gas. Luckily, you find some super helpful and very discreet locals who offer to carry the load by hand. But bless their hearts, they take a wrong turn and end up hauling those crates straight into the Rafah tunnels. Then tragedy strikes again. On the other side, some armed rebels who were totally just passing through ambush your poor helpers and vanish with the goods. Cargo gone. Devastating, right? You file a police report with a massive crocodile tear in your eye. The result? Chef's kiss. The client gets their toys. You keep the bag, and the paper trail says you're just a tragic victim of organized crime. Congrats, you just failed your way to absolute victory. Once you cross that moral line and get away with it, you're gonna double down. That's just human nature. But you realize your clients live in places where the roads are basically moon craters and the ports are crawling with guys asking way too many questions. You need to own the sky. You eye a beat-up used cargo plane. Price tag $500,000. Steep sure, but you do the math, and the ROI is a no-brainer. First speed is security. The longer your cargo sits, the more likely some Fed wants to take a peek. A weeks-long road trip is a suicide note. A few hours in the air. That's surgical. Second, you cut out the middleman. Fewer hands on the boxes, fewer eyes on the prize. In this game, every extra person involved is a ticking time bomb. Loose lips sink ships, or in this case, planes. You pull the trigger and buy it. If this goes right, this iron bird will 10x your investment. You head to some forgotten hangar in Eastern Europe, a rusty relic from the Soviet era. Cash drops keys in hand, but a plane doesn't fly itself. You scout a crew and find a total unicorn, a pilot with ice in his veins. This guy flies through storms that would make a commercial pilot barf. Most importantly, he can stick a landing in pitch black on a dirt strip that barely qualifies as a driveway. Plane bought. Pilot hired. Your private supply chain is officially open for business. You just inked a fat contract with some private firm in a failed state. 10 years ago, you could fly by the seat of your pants and call it a day. Radar was spotty and border security was a joke. But today, trying to fly dark without a plan is like walking into a precinct and snitching on yourself. It's professional suicide. But hey, tech evolves, but greed is a constant. You do what you do best. Grease the bureaucratic wheels. You buy the air traffic controllers. One gets a full ride scholarship for his kid to an Ivy League. Another wins the lottery, meaning a supercar shows up in his driveway. Now you're flying legit. If your blip flickers or drifts off course, no biggie. They've developed a sudden case of selective blindness. You file the flight plan under a humanitarian aid flag. Manifest says tents and blankets for refugees. In reality, you're hauling heat and hardware. You wheels up at midnight. Darkness won't hide you from radar, but it keeps the ground-level Karens from peeking. Mid-flight, you kill the nav lights and go full radio silence. You're a ghost. Sudden disappearances look sketchy, but in this business, enough cash makes evidence evaporate. You buzz over a dense jungle and stick the landing on a rebel dirt strip. A commander in a red beret rolls up. No hellos. He tosses a heavy sack, blood diamonds. You break out the digital scale, weight is spot on. You signal the crew to drop the death crates. Before the dust even settles, you're airborne. No words, no traces. Just a masterpiece of a mission. Clutching that bag of ice, your brain starts cooking up schemes that would make the devil himself sweat. You look at your pilot, hypothetical for you. 10 guys in a room. Only one has a piece. What happens? He doesn't even blink. The guy with the gun is the alpha. The other 9, they're just living on borrowed time. You lose it. You laugh so hard the cockpit shakes. And that's exactly why you fly the plane and I run the show. If one guy has a gun, my job isn't to bow down. It's to figure out how to sell a gun to the other 9. True to your hustle, you start pulling off some impossible plays in the Congo. You dump 2,000 AKs on a tiny rebel cell at cost. Suddenly, these nobodies have the tactical edge. Their rivals freak out and come crawling to you. You sell them 4,000 rifles, but this time with a massive markup. Now the scales are even again. Then you leak a poisonous rumor. Word on the street is the underdogs are teaming up to take down the regional big boss. The boss gets paranoid. He's terrified of losing his throne, so he buys 6,000 rifles at a highway robbery price. 1 week, 12,000 units. You're officially filthy rich off their desperation. Your pilot, great at flying clueless about life, asks, why don't they just find a cheaper plug? You give him a crash course in Warconomics 101. First, in a war zone, the balance of power shifts by the hour. Nobody cares about being the lowest bidder. They care about who can deliver before they're wiped off the map. Speed beats gold every time. Second, it's psychological. If you're the guy who made their enemy scary, they assume you're the only one who can make them scarier. Third risk. Swapping suppliers is a death wish. What if the new guy's gear jams? What if he's a Fed? In this biz, fear of the unknown is way scarier than a surcharge. You slap his back. Class dismissed. Next stop, Dubai. Let's go blow this cash. You're in Dubai, living it up over a high-end lobster dinner. Suddenly, a suit crashes the party. He introduces himself as a government contractor for Uncle Sam. Without a word, he drops a thick dossier right onto your plate. Inside high-res shots of your birds, your flight paths, and all your offshore accounts. He says he's got enough dirt to put your face on every most wanted poster from DC to Tokyo. But then he offers you a get-out-of-jail-free card. You work for them, and they conveniently look the other way. Plus, they'll give you access to a catalogue of hardware that hasn't even hit the dark web yet. You give him a smirk. What's the catch you want me to sell salt to Iraq? The agent is stone-faced. Total professional. He tells you straight they need you to arm a specific rebel group. He starts droning on about geopolitical stability and strategic interests. But you read between the lines. They want to rig a region's politics without getting their hands dirty. They want a conflict to simmer just long enough to bleed an enemy government dry. But they can't have made in the USA stamped on the crates. They need a ghost. They need a cutout. They need you. You let out a laugh that turns every head in the restaurant. You tell him, at the end of the day, we're two sides of the same coin. We both need these fires to burn as long as possible. The only difference, I'm the criminal and you're the peacekeeper. Handshake. Done deal. Always a pleasure to collaborate with the competition. Just like we shook on it, the goodies start rolling in. Uncle Sam is feeding you high-tech hardware that other runners wouldn't even dare to dream about. You run your hand over those wooden crates, and you don't see lead and powder. You see mountains of Benjamins. Time to launch the wildest routes of your career. You're flying into the Sahel war zone. Official manifest, UN medical supplies. But oops, accidents happen. A few tons of what we'll call heavy-duty stethoscopes just happen to fall out of the cargo bay, aimed perfectly at a militia's GPS coordinates. Next stop, Yemen. Your containers are labeled snow sleds. Yeah, sleds in the middle of a scorching desert. The red tape is so thick and blind, nobody even blinks. Why does Yemen need winter sports gear? Don't ask, don't tell. You're hitting war zones like a tourist dropping explosive party favors from the sky. Orders are stacking up so fast, one bird isn't enough. You scale the hell up, more planes, more crews, a full-blown death delivery network. You're officially the goat of smuggling. But here's the kicker, thanks to your friends in high places. Every single drop, no matter how insane, is technically legal. You've got so many stamps and permits that the streets gave you a new title. Meet the Lord of Legitimacy. Today's order, a real head-turner. Your partners want you to haul a fully functional military sub to Mexico. Destination, a notorious cartel kingpin. You don't blink. You don't ask why or what for. In this game, that's the golden rule for staying on the right side of the grass. Curiosity doesn't just kill the cat here. It gets the cat waterboarded before it's disappeared. Less talk, more life. As usual, you make the impossible look like a boring day at the office. You cook the books until they're delicious. Officially, you're shipping a deep-sea research vessel to study whale migration. You're not a smuggler. You're a philanthropist for marine science. Stamps, signatures, certificates. Everything's A-OK. When you hit the Mexican coast, the boss and his private army roll out the red carpet. It's a king's welcome banquet's top-shelf tequila the works. Between shots, they get real with you. They've been feeling some serious tech envy. Apparently, the Colombians have been flexing with their narco subs for years, and the Mexican cartels felt like they were lagging behind. It's a matter of corporate pride. They hated being technologically challenged in the global drug market. But with this bird in the water, the game changes. Thanks to you, they're finally going stealth mode to reclaim their criminal dignity. You toast to them, promising that with this new toy, the balance of power just shifted to their favor. Judgment Day arrives. The subs perform like a dream total stealth masterpieces. But there's one glitch no software can patch human stupidity. The cartel gets bagged, and instead of taking the L, they sing like canaries. They tell the DEA you're the plug, who sold them the toys. Instantly, your buddies in DC throw a presser. With straight faces and fake outrage, they label you a national security threat. Your survival instinct kicks in. You see the board, you're not a partner anymore. You're the fall guy. This is just a political circus. Time to ghost and fast. In this biz, survival has a price tag. You go full scorched earth. To stop being the bullseye, you make everyone a target. You drop the nuke. You leak high-res receipts of respectable suits grinning while pocketing your kickbacks. You leak docs showing governments hand out arms licenses like they're expired coupons. You expose the ultimate hypocrisy world, powers secretly arming the same rebels they claim to fight on the 6 o'clock news. You know the powers that be will bury this in 24 hours. But that short-term PR nightmare is your perfect smokescreen. While they're busy mopping up their own mess, you vanish into thin air. Somewhere in the deep Pacific, you've got a speck of rock so tiny the map makers didn't even bother to ink it. Your ultimate off-the-grid sanctuary. You've been building this panic room in secret since the day you went rogue. But life's got a twisted sense of humor. Turns out the feds have eyes in the sky you never accounted for. You've been ambushed in your own backyard. Before your landing gear even touches the tarmac, you're already painted. You see the flash before you hear the boom. A surface-to-air missile rising up to say a final hello. In that split second, before the lights go out, you don't feel fear. Just a dark, cynical respect for the irony. You, the world's premier merchant of death, are about to get smoked by the exact same hardware that bought you this island. Live by the sword, die by the sword, right? Karma just sent the invoice, and it's time to pay up. Your bird turns into a spectacular fireball, lighting up the dark ocean. Next day, every news cycle runs the same script. The infamous Lord of Legitimacy is toast. The official report, a catastrophic mechanical failure. A clean, sterilized lie to wrap up your life. Game over. It's a total trip watching your own obituary trend on the global news. Surreal, but so satisfying. You turn to a kid holding a modded controller that looks like something straight out of an esports tournament. "Nice flying, kid," you say. The kid gives you a look that's way too sharp for his age. If you're that grateful, how about a 6-figure tip? You let out a dry laugh. Have a heart, kid. On paper, I'm officially below the poverty line. Not a single cent to my name. You scan the room. They reached out to you the exact second Uncle Sam tried to recruit you. You didn't just get lucky. You've been playing the long game since the very beginning. And that's the wrap for today. If you want more deep dives into the world's shadiest corners, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and stay off the radar with me. See you in the next one.